Do you know how many people in the UK are now earning over £1 million a year? £1 million in a year! That's unimaginable. Yet over 30,000 people in the UK were paid over £1 million a year last year. If you'll change, well, everything really can and will change for you. And that's great news, because we don't have to worry about what's happening out there in the big wide world, about the economy and the politics and the markets. All we've got to change is what's happening in here. And to have more, for you to have more, all you've got to do is become more. And that's actually a little bit easier than most people realise. So rather than wishing things were easier, maybe wish that you were better. A bit controversial, that one. Rather than wishing that you had less problems, wish for more skills. When you start working on yourself, that's what starts to happen. Let's talk a little bit about that, about personal development. I've been in business now for well over 20 years. And I'm really, only looking back have I realised how I've always wanted to get better and better. I want my business operations to get better. I want the things I do to get better. Because once I discovered this little simple formula, oh my God, it's so easy to figure out where the problem is, as long as you're working on the right things. I do quite a lot of talks in schools. And when I'm talking to teenagers and sixth formers in particular, and helping them to understand kind of personal development, I always start by talking about money. Now, I know that money is not the only place we could start. I know that money is not the only value, it's not the be all and end all, but we've got to start somewhere. And the beautiful thing about money is it's something that we can count, right? And kids are interested in money. A lot of things are a bit harder to measure, but money is quite easy to measure because we can count it. Someone says, how are you doing as a business owner? What does the money say? But this isn't the only count. I understand that. There's a lot of other things that we could count, but to see if there might be some maybe errors in your judgment or your way of thinking, perhaps some of the disciplines in your life could be different. Well, let's start with money, because it's so easy to count and it'll give us a good indication of what's really happening. So let's start there and see maybe or not we might have messed up. So here's how I explain it to kids. I say, look, we all of us, everyone in society, we all get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. That's a key kind of thing to understand the whole of kind of economics and the way the world works. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. Now, Jim Rohn once described the marketplace as reality. Reality is the marketplace is reality. Now, it does take time to bring value to the marketplace, but none of us get paid for our time. And it's really important for kids as well as adults to understand this. People say, well, I'm making £20 an hour. That is not the case. If that was the case, you could just stay at home and they'd just send you the money. But they don't do that. It's not true. You get paid, not for the hour, you get paid for the value you put in the time. None of us gets paid for time. We get paid for the value that we bring to our marketplace, our employers in this instance. Now, once you accept that's true, this takes you to a really important question. A really big question this afternoon. Is it possible to become twice as valuable and make twice as much money in the same time? Well, is it? Yes, it is. Of course it is. It is possible to become 3 times as valuable as you are now and make 3 times as much money in the same time. All you have to do to earn more money in the same time is become more valuable. And in the UK, our economy is a ladder. And it starts right down at the bottom with like £12.21 an hour. Okay, that's the UK minimum wage. There was a big argument last year in Parliament about what it should be. Should it be £13 an hour? Should it be 13? Well, it doesn't need to be 13. Why not start with 12? £12.21, because it's a ladder. It's not a bed. You don't stay there forever. It's a ladder. And the whole point of a ladder is that you climb. So we start the ladder at £12.21. Now, somebody said, well, it should start at £13. Well, maybe if you were going to stay at the bottom of the ladder for the rest of your life, you would care a lot about that, and it probably should be £13. But that's a really pitiful way to live, to start out and not to grow. Imagine starting out and not changing. Imagine starting out and not becoming more valuable. Because the whole scenario to life, especially in business, is that we start, number one, absolutely got to start, But then, number two, we become more valuable. It's a ladder we start to climb. Do you know how many people in the UK are now earning over £1 million a year? £1 million in a year! That's unimaginable to lots of people. Yet over 30,000 people in the UK were paid over £1 million a year last year. That's a decent sized stadium full of people who earned £1 million last year. Lots of companies pay people £1 million for 1 year's work. Now, people find that hard to get their heads around, but it's not that crazy when you think about it. If you help a company to make hundreds of millions of pounds profit, would they pay you £1 million? Yeah, they would. It's a teeny tiny amount. I mean, it's not much money in relation to what the profits of the business are, because the person leading the business became so valuable. Now, why would we pay somebody only £12 an hour or £12.21? Well, because they're not very valuable to the marketplace. Really important distinction. Value to the marketplace. They might be a really valuable brother or son, a valuable member of the community, a good husband, a good dad, a valuable member of the human family. Those kind of values matter. But to the marketplace, which is where we get paid from, and the marketplace is reality, remember? Reality is you're not very valuable, you don't get much money. Those are the facts. That's how life is. So how do you get more money? Well, simple answer. So, well, I'll go on strike, I'll demand a pay rise. Well, there's a major problem with that. You can't get rich by demand. If you wait for a pay rise, much easier. Climb the ladder. It's way easier than waiting for a pay rise. Why not just become more valuable? I'm telling you, that is the key to all good things, becoming more valuable. Why would we pay someone £100 an hour? Because they've become more valuable to the marketplace, to the business. See how this works? I'm telling you, once you grasp it, it's really easy. It's a ladder. It starts at £12.21. How far is it to £15, £20, £25? I'm telling you, it's not that far. If you're working at McDonald's on the minimum wage and you haul out the rubbish, I mean, they'll pay you £12.21 because it's the UK minimum wage. If you whistle while you take out the rubbish, they'll pay you an extra £1 an hour because you get an extra £1 just for a good attitude, and then you just keep becoming more valuable, more valuable, more valuable. And that's the secret. Jim Rohn taught me this. He said the secret is to learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, to be clear, you've got to do a good job. You've got to do great work. But as well as your job, work hard on yourself. Work hard on making yourself more valuable to the marketplace. Your marketplace, if you're in employment, is your boss. You know, it's the people that you're working for. And once I got that, it turned my whole life around. Learning to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, says Jim Rohn, and he's right, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. Oh, boo. I wish I'd known that when I was 25. If you'd known me when I was 25, you'd have said, Nigel's a hard worker. If you'd known me, you'd have said that. Yeah, I'm the guy. I don't mind coming in a bit early. I don't mind staying a bit late. You'd have said, Nigel works hard. But I was working hard on my job, not on myself. Now, I'm telling you, if you learn this simple little principle and you start this process today, working on yourself, developing your skills and your knowledge, making yourself more valuable to the marketplace, I'm telling you, you can so massively change your income. And it's getting easier because most people don't do it. Most people can't be asked. So they stay scritching and scrabbling around on the minimum wage. But you can. You can work hard on yourself. You can work hard developing your skills. You can work hard developing the stuff necessary to become more valuable to the marketplace. And when you do that, your whole life can explode into change. Promotions, no problem. Becoming more valuable to the company, no problem. Earning more money, absolutely no problem. I promise you, as an employer of lots of people, the people that are most valuable get the most money. The future's no problem when you just go to work on the right thing. Working on your philosophy, working on your attitude, working on your personality, on your knowledge, on your communication skills, working on your abilities. And when you start to change them and move them in the right direction, I'm telling you, everything will change for you.